an extra someone hiding in the background yet. Go ahead and bring him in.
And as I'm trying to get my lighting right.
Oh, yeah. Well, we need to bring you on right away. Can't have you in the background forever. All right. Well, I'm Matthew Enderly with Patchphrase. Got Justin over there. That way, cameras are a little weird from JA Digitizing, and then DJ from down there from Digitizing Masterclass. He is by far the most experienced out of all of us here in Pulse for sure. So that's why we have him, right?
Yes.
So we're missing Jeff. Usually these lives are completely different without Jeff. So we'll see how this goes. We got people in the comments already. Let's see. We got Cindy saying good evening, all. Good evening to you. Jesse, once again, hitting every single one of our lives. That's awesome. Saying hi. Woody saying thanks for the free education. Yes, we love giving away free things. And then more discourse between everyone. So, first off, how's everyone's week going, Justin?
Busy.
It's a Monday, isn't it?
It's still a Monday. I'm sure everybody that's in the room already knows it, but I had the pleasure of being canceled on social media for no apparent reason. So I lost all my accounts across the board, Facebook and Instagram. So trying to rebuild. In case you haven't seen, I do have a new account, new business page. The Facebook pages for JA Digitizing and 3D Puff Pro are still there. I just don't have access to them. So if you run across two of them, there is a newer one. It's at JA Digitizing Studios now. I just added the studios to the end of it. Same with at 3D Puff Pro Tools. I just added the tools to the end of it. So if you were following me, or even if you weren't following me before, I'd appreciate it. Come check me out on Facebook. And I just today got the Instagram accounts going as well under the same username. So come check me out, give me a follow. I'll try to post up some of the content that I used to have and some new stuff there. And Matt just threw up those links there for me in the notes.
We got to help you get back. I mean, it sucks. You went from having your entire customer base on there and just poof. And
yeah, between Facebook and Instagram, I had, I think, almost about 2,000 followers. So I know it's not huge, but it took a while to get there. So yeah, it just hit me out of nowhere. It was, and if anybody's dealt with Facebook and Instagram, there's no talking to them. There's no customer service. So no rhyme or reason, just canceled. So how's your guys' week going?
Well, mine is definitely not going that bad. I feel for you. That's I've heard that happening to a few people, and that is not fun. And I hear that there is no way to get around it, and
nope,
you can't get anywhere with it. They're not there to help you get it back up and going. That's for sure.
No, unfortunately not. No.
Yeah, and mine is just, I don't know where the weekend even went, but yeah, it feels like it's just constant work, and I haven't even turned the machines on in the past like week and a half, maybe, or more even. So my orders are this high. Time management is not my gift. Let me just put that there. But hey, the thread converter website got updated. If you haven't seen that, I did that last night. I mean, not this morning at 3 a.m. And then woke up at 6. So that's cool. But yeah, go check it out, threadconverter.com or threadcharts.com. It'll redirect you. But should be a little quicker, a few more features. So
that's always good.
It's looking good. I was playing around with it a couple times today, and I really like it.
and it's free.
Always good. It's free.
Going back to that comment from Woody for free education, free tools down in the description and the whatnots. All right. So for the real topic of the live, which is exploring Tajima DG16 Pulse software. So if you don't know, the two of us on top typically digitize in Wilcom, but we're venturing out for training and education and whatever. So we've picked up DG16 and we've been playing around with it a little bit. I did a patch. Of course, the first thing I digitize is not, a coloring book page. It's a patch. And Justin, I don't know what you're working on, but I can see stuff in your glasses. So
yeah, I actually had some training today with Roland.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool working with him this morning. And unfortunately, I didn't have any time to play with Pulse. I was just watching as he went through it, and I was just actually just jumping in the software right now, just kind of trying to refresh my memory on the few things that he was showing.
We need to get Roland onto this show sometime because everybody needs to experience working with Roland sometime. You talk about somebody who has been in the industry for years, and I don't know personally anybody that knows more than he does about the whole entire process. And not only that, but he programs at the same time. So he understands embroidery fully, and he understands software completely as well. It's very unique, and there's very few people that have that skill. A lot of programmers and people who understand it and develop for it, most of them aren't digitizers. And that's what kind of makes Pulse software a little bit different too, is that they actually have people that do embroidery that are part of the development team. So it's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, I did not do my training with him yet, but I did. There was like something really simple I wanted to do in the software, and I just couldn't figure it out. And I'm like, you know what? Let's go to YouTube. And what do you know? It was the video Roland put out. And in that little bit, it was like, oh, this makes way more sense. And I got it. Obviously, I was able to get an entire patch done. But, let's go ahead and see if I can find what screen that is. Okay. I'll go ahead and pull mine up because Justin doesn't want to show his.
Oh.
Just messing with you. So here is the design that I did. Granted, I will be honest. If I did this in Wilcom, I would have got it done a lot quicker. However, there's a lot of things that I found really neat about Pulse when I was doing this patch. And now I don't know what I'm doing. I'm moving something. Well, not that. It's a problem with having multiple monitors. But there were a lot of cool little tools that I found that were really exciting, and that's ultimately what you're investing in when you get software. Like Jeff posted a picture somewhere today showing all the different software that he has for digitizing. I don't know how many there were. There's at least like 1,000 of them, but which is 1,000 by the way. But you're buying different tool suites. So, like, for example, the one that I thought was really interesting was this. And every time I have some of the other software open on the bottom of my monitor, it gets really slow. So, but this Y is one object, but you can go in and you can do a, let me go ahead and hide this background. You can put in a virtual split. So it makes it look like it's two individual objects, which makes it way easier to make it. I don't know if you got to see that, Justin.
I did not. A virtual split, huh?
Yeah, so basically,
It's basically a tool that it's kind of like slicing without slicing. So what you get the ability to do is It's like an angle line in a way, where you tell it, okay, this is one object, but I want it to treat it like it's two objects, and by splitting it in a certain area, you can say, I want these stitches to go this direction for this side of the object, and I want them to go a different direction for the other side. And it's a really cool feature.
Beautiful Y. I'm hungry.
Better?
Leave me alone. Yeah. And then, okay, so I use the art tool, convert it into a satin path. And if I show, wrong button, 3. Oh, I got to do that. Enter. And then it's going to look really weird. Oh, this is really huge. That's why. Let's do 5 millimeters tall. That's way better. Okay. I was like, that looked really weird. Okay. So this is one object, you can tell. But normally when you do a Y, like if you actually think about how you do it, you draw whatever, you know how to draw a Y. I don't know why I'm trying to do it backwards, even though the Y is the same backwards. But over here, you got your stitch angle. And I can go put in different lines right here. And then now I got my stitch angles going around, but that's still throwing it off. So if I go over here, I can do virtual slice. And then I can come right down here and then hit the right button. And then it broke it apart, but it's still one object.
So one of the really nice things about that is that you only have one start point and one end point. So it automatically branches for you at the same time. So you can change your start point and end point, and it's automatically going to run to the other side of the object. And Pulse is one of the few software programs that what you see on the screen is actually what you're going to get. It's not like when it generates it exactly how you see it. Whereas a lot of programs, Wilcom included, will actually make changes at the time of the save. This one won't. So if you go in there and you take the time to make the adjustments and everything, it's going to actually produce it the way that you see it on the screen. You're not going to be caught with any surprises. But the really nice thing is you can change your start point and end point, and it treats it like it's one object, not two.
So the biggest thing that I noticed, and this might be especially people that are coming from the design world or the screen print world that are really familiar with the Adobe products like Illustrator. I've noticed that there's a lot of similarities on how things are created in Pulse that mimic Illustrator a lot. A lot of things that Roland was showing me was actually creating objects using the art functions and then converting them to stitches instead of just going directly to a tool, a satin tool, and trying to, especially as from a novice's point of view, trying to plot points while creating that element like a satin stitch. Sometimes, there could be a learning curve, but if you're just kind of drawing the whole thing and then saying, okay, turn this into this type of stitch, and creating angles and whatnot, it's a little bit more intuitive as far as going from art to embroidery, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, it's actually funny you're saying this because like the last 3 days I've been recording videos on the Floriani software, which actually behaves that same kind of a way where I teach people to create it as artwork, and you create it as artwork and then you convert it to whatever you want, and it makes the learning curve so much easier. And especially doing a classic satin of the point counterpoint method, that can take a little while to get used to.
Right.
But most people know how to trace something with an artwork tool, and then it's simply just converting it right over to a stitch.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And yeah, when you're plotting points, creating certain stitches in, for Wilcom, for example, you're going to be plotting it specifically to the type of stitch you're using. If you are doing a satin, depending on what tool you're using, it's either point counterpoint where you're going toggling back and forth side to side, creating your shape. There's another entry that's column B where you plot one side, come back and you plot the second side, then you have to decide on angles. But you're going to plot a fill in a different way if you're going strictly to your fill tool. Using the artwork tools in Pulse, you're going to create the shape however you want it, and then you're going to apply what type of stitch that you want that shape in. So you're going to be plotting the same way every single time.
Yeah. And that does make it easier to learn for sure, because that was one of the things I was shooting the video on yesterday on a satin stitch, and how you have to know, okay, well, the next thing it wants me to do is draw on the angles. Then after that, it wants me to tell it where I want it to start and then where I want it to end. But it can be different for a fill stitch. And
right.
And so sometimes it can be confusing. It makes a lot more sense just to be able to trace something the same way, no matter what, and then just tell it what you want it to be.
Gotcha. So I am just trying to...
Yeah, so I was going to mention this before. This is kind of what I think DJ was mentioning, is how it'll show you exactly where your stitch is going to be, because your embroidery machine, believe it or not, has certain points where it can only actually penetrate. So there's limits to it, and Pulse knows what that is and will automatically show you that. So like, for example, this is a circle, right? But if you actually zoom in on it, you're going to see that these points go out of the bounds of the circle. I mean, it's going to have your pull distortion anyways, which would bring it in, but it's showing you that that's that limitation of where your embroidery machine can go. Instead of like in other software like Wilcom or other ones that have different stitch generation, it's going to show it right on that border. And then when you save the design to like a DST or a whatever other ones are, then it'll do some math and move it. That's why you'll notice in your software, it might say 8,000 stitches, and then you bring it to your machine and now you have 7,970 because it was modified. And then that's when you get weird things.
Yeah, it works in tenths of millimeters. So the machine, it has to move in tenths of millimeters. So that's why it's kind of, you'll see that it's not exactly on line, because it knows it has to move so much. And so it's placing it exactly where the machine will actually lay that stitch.
Gotcha.
That was a frustration I had early on in my career when I was working with a software program that made changes. Like I would spend the time to make something look the way I wanted it to, and then I'd save it, and it would produce something different because it wasn't holding that information. It wasn't giving me exactly what I was seeing on the screen. And that was one of the things that really drove me crazy, especially when you're doing more intricate stuff or you have to be a little bit more exact with your embroidery. I did a lot of stuff where it was very manual, and there was nothing more frustrating than saving it and then all of a sudden the design changing. That happened a lot, and I won't say the name of the software program because I don't want to, but there was one that I used to use, and it used to change it on me a lot, and it was really frustrating. So I appreciate that about the Pulse software, is the fact that you're going to get what you see on the screen, and there's not going to be any surprises.
Gotcha.
Looks like we got a couple comments too that we've been slacking on because we're having fun. You know how that happens. So Ramona says that the virtual looks amazing. She really likes this design, how it actually shows. I posted an early preview in Discord, but you can tell certainly from Pulse, they put a lot more into how it actually looks when you render it. A lot of other software, it looks completely flat or it looks super fake. This looks pretty presentable to customers. And maybe, I should bring it up so that you could actually see what I'm talking about. There you go. That's what I was referring to. Okay. And then
I think part of that comes to their online stuff. They kind of need to do that, right? Because they have that online store stuff where you can type in your name and you can preview it before it gets saved and stitched out. So it needs to look like what they're going to receive it as, right? So they have to pay attention to that stuff a little bit more.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because I threw this design up on an Instagram story, I think, and I already have sales for this patch, and I haven't even sent it to the machine yet. So that's on the list of things to do too. Let's see, and then there's one I was going to bring up. Eric, there we go. He says that he finds himself working in the shape first mode more often. It's just an easier way of doing it, which is I've noticed that too when you're doing your entire design and you're selecting whether it's a satin or you're selecting it's a tatami, a fill, a column B, column A, whatever. You're trying to think about that as well versus just draw the art, get it, and then play with it. You can kind of plan a little bit more. And I feel like someone has a digitizing composition worksheet too.
Hey, why don't you bring that software? That was a great point by Eric, because I know that he does that because he told me as well, because it was something that I often do. And I was really glad to hear that he does that too, because I was wondering if I was the only person that was doing it that way. But once you get used to it, it's like kind of the only way you want to do it. But bring up a stitch and show how you can or an artwork, and you can just convert it to whatever you want, so that people can see that if you have like a circle or something that you can convert it.
You mean like a actual vector file?
Yeah. Or just like you can create one in there. It doesn't have, it can be a regular fill or anything. But,
oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know where I have a vector file actually.
Okay. Well, good. Yeah. Just like that.
All right. So that was a circle. By the way, Pulse, like there's a lot of tools on here. They're all color coded for different things. I don't remember exactly what the colors mean, but like the purple is your artwork tools. So that's to generate the boundaries for you to plan to put your stitches. So that's what I just did. I made a boundary of a circle for my stitches. I right-clicked it, and then I have convert segments. So I have all these different types. So DJ is going to tell me which one to click.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It's just showing that once you have a piece of artwork, if you trace anything, you have all of those options to change it to whatever you want. So you just create the shape, and then you can use the convert to. And there's also an icon right above your cursor right there, the last green one on that top row, or the row next to the design page. If you select the item.
Sorry, say it again.
Select the item that you just created, and see on the green, all the green bars, go to the far right. Yeah, that one. If you click on that, that's all the convert tos as well. So if you don't right click, they're all right there as well. So you have applique. You can just like kind of read them out, but you can do a lot of different stitch types, complex fill. I mean, you just create the shape, and then you tell it what you want it to be.
And I don't know if anybody noticed when Matt was plotting those points, the biggest thing that I thought was a really cool feature was within actually drawing, if you're not just doing a shape like a circle or converting something from your artwork, and you're actually tracing, just kind of going around the line. Of course, you have your left and right clicks that are line and curve. I think it becomes standard where it's left click is line and then control left click is curve. I have my setup where it's left and right click. But anyways, you have your quick draw mode where it just basically plots the points as you're plotting them. So you're to go around an outline, plotting your straight or your curve points, and then you can actually go to a Bezier setting if you're familiar with using that. As far as from Illustrator, it's really similar to Illustrator. You can go to a Bezier where it actually kind of gives you those handles. I'm actually just sharing my screen really quick, Matt.
Okay. I'm trying to find a piece of artwork to.
So one of the things I'll tell you with that artwork based, one of the things I find very valuable about it is when I'm digitizing a font, I actually digitize it all as artwork and I break it up into the different segments. So like the letter A, I'll make like a capital A, I'll have like 3 different segments. And then I'll convert those to stitches. And the reason that I do that is I end up saving it for multiple software programs. Then I can take that artwork and bring it into any of the other programs and convert it over to stitches as well. Right. So it's like.
Are you talking about when you're creating the artwork?
Do what?
You're talking about when you're creating the artwork?
You can save it as artwork, right? So I just create it all as artwork to start with, but I break it up like I'm digitizing it. And that way I save that and I can just take it into whatever program I want. I actually do all my vectorizing inside of software now. I don't even open up Corel Draw or Illustrator anymore.
Oh,
the only
really?
time I do that is if I have to do gradients or something like, but if I'm just doing solid colors, I just use the software because I can create whatever I want for like cut files and stuff, SVGs and all that. I just create it all inside of the digitizing software. I find it easier to just work inside of one program.
Right.
Going
back instead of the multiple things. But even if you are creating, if you're, again, more comfortable with something like Illustrator, Corel, but you are knowing that you're going to be using that artwork. And, this is a lot of times people that are designing stock designs and whatnot. If you're keeping that in mind and you're actually creating the artwork the way embroidery is going to be broken up, then yes, it's just a matter of a few clicks once you bring that artwork
in and just converting it. And that's what's great. You can go either way, right? You can go from artwork program right over to turning into stitches, or you can use this software to create the artwork for somebody else. It's like, it's just really flexible. And I love that softwares change that way. And all the programs need to work off of that vector outlining with converting so that you can use the software for multiple things.
Right. So what I was saying earlier is this, like Matt was pulling up the standard square and circle drawing. There's the actual pencil, but the quick draw setting, which is your natural either straight points or curved points. But they actually, if you get into the Bezier setting, you can actually, I'm trying to remember how it's done here. Sorry. Oh, here we go. You could actually control your node by using the handles there, and actually could come in as you're drawing and actually manipulate those handles as you're continuing to plot your points. So that's something, again, if you're familiar with that type of drawing technique, or you can go back to your quick point, straight and point, curve points. But that's something, again, there's a lot of, from my experience with software, once you're in a tool, the tool kind of does its one trick pony. It does its points, and to manipulate it at all, you have to finish that segment, go back to a node and fix it. When this is kind of within, it gives you control depending on what hotkey you use, manipulating those handles on that Bezier. It's just a matter of clicking the control key, holding it down while I'm manipulating. So, and you can toggle between the different tool types as you're creating that one element, which I thought was really, really cool.
So just some background of why this software kind of performs a little different, or maybe you create things a little different, is because Pulse doesn't just do embroidery, right? They do stuff for laser cutters and vinyl cutters and all sorts of things. So they do a lot more than just embroidery. So that's why it'll kind of mimic a little bit more of your graphic software programs, is because they really kind of focus in multiple areas, not just one, and it all gets built out of this platform.
Another cool thing I saw with the drawing tool is the ability to go freehand. So if you do have a tablet, I know a lot of times when I toggle back and forth between my tablet and my mouse when I'm digitizing, depending on the design itself. Sometimes when it's realistic stuff where I'm doing shading and stuff like that, I actually want to grab it like a pencil and draw. And it's got that freehand, the freehand option as well when you're doing the drawing things to. More than likely, you're going to be converting it to a running stitch when you're doing that many lines like that. You wouldn't be doing crazy fill stitches like that. But again, just another layer of what the software can do when it comes to the different options.
I got a question for DJ from Ramona. Does FTCU follow the same color coding for the tools?
No, the icons aren't the same color. They're different colors, but Floriani does group them together by color. So kind of like what the Pulse does is you're going to have the same family of tools in one color. And that it's really helpful. Like it's really helpful for people like me that do the education, because I can always say, go to your purple tools. Right. And it's the third one or something like that. So it's really nice to have them color coordinated. But no, they're not the same. They're different.
So I'm trying to.
One from Gina. What format do you save your artwork to be able to use it in multi-embroidery programs?
It kind of depends on the software program you're working with. Like with Floriani software, I save it as a SVG file. Because it has the ability to save into that format. Some of the digitizing software programs don't save to SVG, but a lot of them will save to like AI, which is like an old version of Adobe Illustrator, most of them, or DXF. Some will do EPS, but it kind of depends on the software program you're working from. And so you kind of have to test it. And save it into one of those artwork formats. The important thing is it's an artwork format. And then you open it up into one of the other programs. So you have to kind of know which format your software will open. Right? So gotcha. I work with SVGs in the Floriani. That's mostly what I work with.
Would there be any benefit of working with one over another?
It's kind of hard to say,
or is it just a matter of the software?
It's a matter of the software, and because you can't. The software programs for embroidery, they don't read the gradient fills and stuff. They're just looking at the outlines themselves and them being filled with color, right? So it doesn't really matter which format you have. Most of them perform about the same when you open them into your digitizing software.
So I'm just trying to find a piece of vector art here that I can import so we can show you those things that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, while you're doing that, I'll bring mine up. So this is not a vector art. This is a PNG I brought in. But the artwork tool, so like I selected the pencil, I can go through here and use the keyboard. And granted, my monitor's a ways away from my face, so it's a little hard to see where I'm actually at.
Oh, you don't have to tell us. We can tell that it's far away.
That's my excuse, and that's what I'm sticking to. I thought you were making fun of me because I forgot to share my screen again or something, but I mean, it certainly wouldn't be the first time. All right, and and then O to close. Oops. And then, and I didn't save it. That's my problem. Operator error. And of course, the second time you do it a lot lazier. We all know how that works. All right, so there I actually hit the right button. The shape looks identical to what the artwork was. It's just your computer monitor phone is distorting it. So I have my artwork, the shape that I just drew with the purple pen or pencil. Convert it, and then I'm going to do, just satin path, because why not? Then it brings it into this view right here. You can see it's flat color, meaning there's no stitch properties to it yet. I can use my mouse here, and I can add in the stitch angles. And super precise, because that matters. Then I hit G, and now I have this massive satin shape. And it's pretty much that simple.
So that'd be like if you opened up an artwork file in it, that's what you would do. You would say convert it to a satin and draw your little angle lines, maybe change your start and end point, but you can convert it right over to a satin.
And that was just from a PNG file?
Yeah, that's just a PNG, so it's flat. Now, I think you open up a vector, right?
Yeah, you want to kill those comments on YouTube?
Oh, yeah, I'll go do that.
Yeah, so I know like back when I started on-screen digitizing, of course, it was completely different when we were actually cartooning 6:1 and plotting on a board. But when you got to on-screen digitizing, typically it was just you just wanted a high-res artwork where you're not going to have so much pixelation that when you us digitizers zoom in, we have an outline that has all kinds of different outlines to it instead of just one. But this is having something like this in the software powerful like this. I know there's a lot of auto-digitizers out there as far as the software is concerned that just auto-digitizes. But I think this takes it to a whole new level in that if you are able to get vector art from your customers and you can bring it into the software, it's just a matter of, like you said, grabbing a section there, converting it into a, let's see, satin path. Is that right?
Yeah, then you have to draw on the angle lines.
Drawing the angles. Okay. So yeah, just grabbing one section, grabbing the angles, and boom, you have a satin already. Change the color of this so you can see it a little bit better. So yeah, it's just a matter of grabbing stuff and converting it, and then once you, and then the main thing that I think is the issue. My computer's freezing up. The issue with the automatic digitizing is that the computers get to decide, especially in shapes like this, kind of like going back to the Y, like Matt was doing earlier. It's going to try to do these sections. What's that?
I'm just saying, yeah, it does that.
It's going to try to do that. Right. You could either do the what was it? The virtual slice or something that
Control U.
Well, I'm going to show this a little bit different here that Roland showed me, where you actually slice things into pieces, and you can control those a little bit different. Sorry, I'm just not too used to this software.
Yeah, so it's like a knife tool that you can split up the different segments so you can actually break them apart, that you don't have to do it as a virtual, slice, you can
Right.
actually create it as a new object. Like that one, you just need to convert it again, to a satin. But yeah, the other cool thing is that it does have push and pull compensation. So you can just convert it, and then you can apply push and pull inside of the software. You don't have to, because a lot of people, I know a lot of digitizers will automatically adjust for push themselves manually. But then if you ever want to go change the direction, you have to kind of redigitize it, right? If you want to change the direction of those like satin stitches or fill stitches, where in this software you can just use the push and the pull, and if you change the direction of the stitches, it's going to change the push and the pull according to the direction of the stitches.
Yeah, and I think I cut this area weird. That's why it's kind of going berserk. But yeah, it's just a matter of what I was trying to get at is mainly that if you have vector art, and especially if you're prepping the art yourself, and you're and you're going to be bringing into your embroidery, not only can you kind of make those adjustments to the art that need to be adjusted for embroidery, so it is quicker to convert once you get it back into the embroidery software, and or even if it's just a file that you're grabbing from a customer that is vector art, it's really quick to convert those stitches depending on what kind of stitch type you want, and just making those little adjustments to actually be quality digitizing, not just auto-digitizing that these software companies tote that you click a button and it's perfectly done. So
perfect every time.
Perfect every time.
I call auto-digitizing edit digitizing, because that's what you end up doing. You spend more time editing the design than it would take to actually digitize it right in the first place.
Yeah, I was actually at a trade show with one of the very first auto-digitizing softwares that came out, and they had their display up, and had their screen up, and they're doing their conversions, and they click the button. They're like, "See, it's perfectly stitched." And I said, "Oh, well, wouldn't you want this stitch to be fill stitch, not a satin?" I just threw out something. They're like, "Oh, that's easily done. You just convert this, you change this." And they're like, "Oh, but you probably really want to do this. Oh, you do this, and then the amount of time that they said they would do this, and this. It's like, yeah, I would have digitized it in that amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's the thing. I mean, everyone would love for you to be able to just auto digitize every design. That would be wonderful, but it's always going to make judgments that you don't want to use, that you wouldn't prefer to use. And it's just like, we can look online, and anyone who says that they digitize, we could tell you in 2 seconds if they use auto digitizing or not.
Right.
Because it just is totally obvious that somebody does it because of the decisions that are made. They're just not decisions that a digitizer would make, right? The direction of stitches and stuff. And when I say all of that, it's just more of I think that people want the easy button, but if you learn a little bit about digitizing in theory and how to construct a design, you can do it really fast, and you can do it at a very high quality. And even if you don't want to digitize, even if you just are running a business and you pay somebody to do it, you still need to understand digitizing. Because if you need to make a change to a design, you need to know how to do that. So learning digitizing theory is important for anybody who does embroidery, regardless if you digitize your designs or not. Because
exactly.
You always get stuck in that bind where you need something right now, but your digitizer's busy or it's on the weekend or whatever. And if you don't know how to make an easy fix, you're kind of stuck. And that's how you lose a lot of money.
And it's both sides. If you are the embroiderer that, in this situation is the middleman, say, and that embroiderer is sending a design out to the digitizer, and they have to communicate to the end user as well, not only knowing just the theory of digitizing, they're going to see a design, and without having to, oh, let me send this to my digitizer, see if it can be done, you could automatically say, all right, this lettering here that's 3 millimeters tall, it's really not going to work, 20 words across the front of the hat, that's really not going to work, or this isn't going to work, but how about making, you can make a suggestion, if we make this adjustment, it'll work for embroidery. So just knowing the idea behind it, even though you're not going to be the one digitizing and making those changes, you can talk to your customers about that. And then on the flip side, when you are talking to your digitizer, not only is it those, if you do have the software available to make those quick changes, you definitely learn your software if you have it, so you can make edits, and then also talk to your digitizer when there's something going wrong. You can't just say, this design doesn't work. I get that sometimes from a customer, design's not working. Well, I highly doubt every single stitch in this design isn't working. What's the problem? Where's that in the design? Is it a density problem? Is it a pull problem? Is it a push problem? So if you know those theories, you could just say, hey, my lettering's pushing a lot, it's uneven, can you fix that? A 3D puff design, elements pushing into another one, stuff like that, where you're going to know the theory behind it. You're going to know how to talk to whoever it is about the design and know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like another thing, like this patch here is 100% filled circle patch. I can tell you in the software, it is not a circle. If you get a design from someone and it is a circle, it's not gonna be a circle when you finish it. It's gonna be a very weird looking oval.
Yeah.
So, knowing
right.
that helps.
Squares become rectangles, and you have to digitize a rectangle in order to get a square.
Right. You don't know how many times, because when I provide a design to somebody, it's of course the embroidery file, and then it's a PDF sample of it. And they will pull the PDF up because that's what they can see on their phone, or they can see on their computer screen without, looking at the embroidery or even sewing it out. And they'll be like, this lettering is all over the place and uneven. And my first question is, okay, are you looking at the sample PDF or your file, or are you looking at a sew out? Well, I'm looking at the PDF. Well, yeah, so you are seeing it correctly, because if it was perfectly even on that PDF, it's going to sew uneven. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's definitely stuff that if you know the theory, you're going to know the ins and outs behind it before you get it.
We'll have to, there's so many little things that are simple that if everyone just understands these basic concepts, they will, like measuring a piece of art at the size that it needs to be digitized. It's not hard to know if something's going to work or not at that size. If you understand what the smallest satin stitch can be and what the widest satin stitch can be, and if it's less than that, what you would have to do, or else to make it a satin, or else you have to make it a run. It's a very fine line, but it's very measurable. So, if you want to know, if you don't digitize, but somebody gives you something that has a lot of letters and they're small, it's not that difficult to tell if it's going to work on one line or if you're going to have to make it 2 lines, right? You're going to have to make the text a little bit bigger or not. There's a lot of simple things that everyone can kind of, if you can get to that understanding of it, you'll eliminate a lot of back and forth time between you and the digitizer or you and the customer.
Right. Yeah, and typically when you're getting into the details as far as digitizing, again, knowing the theory, it's just a matter of learning how you get to that in whatever software you're using. And unless you're using some free no-name software that you found on some dark web somewhere that only gives you single stitches where you have to plot every single stitch point. Every software is out there going to have, some type of satin stitch, some type of fill stitch, some type of running stitch, a manual stitch. And it's just a matter of the interface that you're using and how you get there. But the idea of the digitizing is always going to be the same.
Yeah, we always make it a lot harder than what it actually is. And at the end of the day, there's 3 types of stitches: a run stitch, a satin stitch, and a fill stitch. And all of
Right.
embroidery is created with those 3 stitches. So if you learn the rules behind each stitch, you can create anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to know where the limitations are, how far you can push it. You need to understand the little details. A run stitch, it's really what? Stitch length. That's a big part of it. When you look at a satin, you're looking at density, you're looking at underlay, you're looking at compensation, you're looking at lock stitches. With fill stitches, it's kind of the same thing. But if you with fill stitches, it's mostly stitch length and density, but most people don't realize stitch length affects stiffness sometimes more than what density does. And it's just like learning these little things can make all the difference.
Right.
Like, here's an example. So like this is not auto trace. This is just zoomed in on the Y again of that patch I did. This is a satin path fill or whatever it's called. But if I get rid of the 3D view, you see all these different lines. That's your where your stitches are going to be. But for example, I have the run tool selected. I can do, I think I'm doing it. I can't tell. I don't know if it's the same color as the background. So we'll just use that one so you can actually see it. There we go. Now I can see it. I can do the run stitch myself. Obviously, this is a lot easier because it's already thrown where the stitches need to be. And there we go. And then now I have my stitch right there. Oh, I guess actually, let me, probably finish it. Run. We'll make it yellow. And there you go. I just created my own satin thing by using a run tool. So I can't go in and use the properties to change the density of it because it's a run. It's not an actual satin path in the software. This is kind of like opening a DST file. That's why you can't adjust that. It's all only runs. And like Eric Campbell said, there is only one stitch, the run stitch.
Well, in this software, you can open that DST and actually change the density and stuff like that because it will read that.
Okay.
Not every program will, but it will.
So to fall back on that, there's a comment that I wanted to bring up right here by Barb. Maybe a loaded question, but is Pulse your new favorite software? So I'm going to answer that with, I started with Wilcom Hatch. I had that paid off, and then Jeff was like, hey, Wilcom ES 4.5 is on sale. You should buy it. So I bought it. I hated it because it was too different. I didn't know how to use it. And I was more often than not still using Hatch. And then I finally got to learn how to actually use it, and then it was my favorite. Now it's with Pulse. I still can do everything I want in Wilcom a lot faster, but there's a reason why I got it. So there's different tools. Their online interface has some pretty nifty tools. Maybe one day it'll get up there. Right now it's just another tool. They're all just tools. I mean,
right.
I could make that stitch in any embroidery software that I wanted. It's just there's faster ways to do it in certain software, and that's what I need is that speed.
And a lot of times it's the learning it, right? Like as you use it more, you learn more, and you get faster at different ones. The important thing is finding one that works for you. And I think what it comes down to is what can you get the education on, right? Because at the end of the day, all the programs offer a lot of good features and functions and tools, but really you only need the run stitch, satin stitch, and fill stitch. And as long as you can create those and control those, you can create anything you want. After that, it's just personal preference. Right. After that, it's like, oh, this has a tool that does something that I want. But what is a motif? A motif is a run stitch. A motif fill is just a run stitch made up of a motif pattern. Anyone can create that themselves It just takes time. So you want to buy a program that has maybe the tools that make it easier for you to do that.
Right.
But it all comes down to learning how to best use each program. And that's the hard thing. And I know that that's a struggle out there because there's so many programs that are good programs out there, but it's hard to find any education on it. And so you're spending all this time trying to figure it out as opposed to getting something that comes with education that will really help you get to learn it. You know?
And that's definitely where I think me, Matt, and Jeff are at right now. We've been using WorldCom for so long that we know at the back, like the back of our hands, and that's what we're efficient at. So our day-to-day use right now is still WorldCom, but just expanding not only our repertoire as digitizers, and I'm a digitizer, but that's something eventually when I'm efficient at it, I can add that to my list of native files that I can give to someone that possibly has Pulse instead of WorldCom, instead of just giving him a DST file. But not only opening that up for us to expand our education. I know our education, we try to keep it as much theory-based as possible just because everybody doesn't have WorldCom, but there are times where we refer to the software. So we're just trying to cover across the board. As Jeff's post today, the 20 million softwares that he has, we're trying to cover all the bases that we can provide that education to everybody. So Pulse is just the new one that we all kind of agreed to go with. One of the other big hitters in the industry besides WorldCom, that we're hoping to dive more and more into. I'm sure you've watched the few videos that we've had on Pulse so far, and it's been kind of the curve that we're going through. So but we'll get there, and
it's one of those programs that doesn't have enough education out there, right? It's a great, amazing program. The programmers are phenomenal, but there's not a lot of educational resources. So people buy a Tajima machine, let's say, and they get that software, and then what do? They go buy a different brand because they might find that the other brand has education, or they see people using it, not knowing that what they have is actually maybe even better than what they just bought, right? It's
right.
It's there's two big players. It's Pulse and it's WorldCom, and those are the two big ones. And people don't realize that Pulse is actually huge. They're just more international, and they do a lot of other things. But with what they do with Tajima is pretty phenomenal, like their automations and website stuff and things like that. It's just people don't know as much about them because you don't see them online. And that's what's fun, is being able to show people this, especially if you bought a Tajima machine and you have that software along with some other software. You might want to open that one back up because it's pretty good software that you have there. And so hopefully you'll learn a little bit as we do some lessons on it so that you'll get familiar with it.
Yeah, the more and more we learn and get more proficient in it, we're definitely going to put more education out on Pulse. And that way we can cover all the bases on those that do have Pulse and the Tajima, kind of the Tajima family, or if you have the WorldCom software that's, I believe that's more Beridan based, right? Is that who sells WorldCom as far as machine wise, is Beridan?
I think they sell a couple different programs, or they used to. I don't know. I can't remember who they used to promote back in the day when I was looking at.
But that's our goal with this, and I think it's kind of neat where everybody can kind of see our journey and learning it at the same time. I mean, we have the background already as far as the digitizing and whatnot and software experience. So hopefully we're going to catch on a little bit quicker. You're not going to see us struggle bust through too much, too much more. But yeah, that's our direction. So as far as our favorite, we're not going to play favorites, but it's definitely something new that we're jumping into and we're excited to learn more about.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I was going to say this comment by Barb is right on the point. If you talk to Jeff, you know that he has every single one of them pieces of software open. and every day he tries to do a design in each software so he doesn't have digitizing attrition with his skills, because that is a legit thing. When I've gone on deployment or whatever, and I come back and it's just it's pretty bad. There's reasons why I don't digitize live after I've been gone for a while. And then they'll probably make this our last question since we're going over right now. Gina's asking if there is separate software for digitizing Chanel. I know in Wilcom that there's an add-on that you have to pay for. It's in the several $100 range. I think I will just turn this question over to DJ for Floriani and Pulse.
Well, I mean, Floriani, no, but with Pulse, the DG software, yeah, they do have Chenille. Yeah, they have options for Chenille as well. That's usually a specialty thing. It's usually an add-on because not everyone does Chenille.
Now, the second part of that question, though, the faux chenille is something completely different. It's not.
Faux chenille is.
It's a technique of basically just.
It is a technique. It's something that I would be shocked if you don't see it in every program soon. Let's put it like that. I know everybody that I know of is working on that. So it's going to be in every program. Some sooner than later.
Right.
It'll be called something different in each program, but
right. But it'll be the same thing.
Coming.
In Wilcom, it's kind of using a feature they already have in there and manipulating these settings to create that faux chenille look. But
it's like in Floriani software, I can create that in the Floriani software. I just don't have an automated tool to just click one button and it does it, but I can replicate that in that software. And you can do that on a lot of other programs as well. It's not something that's special or unique to Wilcom. There's a lot of programs that can generate something like that.
Exactly.
All right. So closing it up, first off, some cool data that I found. Looks like 74% of the people who watch us aren't subscribed to us on YouTube. That would be really cool.
For shame.
I set a goal trying to hit 2,000 subscribers by Christmas. We're at 1820, I think, right now. So we're not too far. So a couple more people, go hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Hopefully we'll be putting some new content out. You know, someone might be coming to my location and we might do some videos or something and post some stuff. I don't know, maybe. But if you want to see that, you'll need to subscribe. So there's that. And then I'll show this real quick. And then Justin looks like he has something he wants to say. Beep, beep.
No, I was just going to say subscribe, like, and get the notification on YouTube for us.
I wanted to share just a quick overview of the thread converter. So this is that thread converter update that I just posted very early this morning at 3 a.m. because I have no life. But when you first go to it, you're going to have this lovely pop-up come up. It's the only pop-up. There's no ads on it, but it has an awesome little Santa emoji, and he's basically begging you, please click this go vote button and then just vote for the thread converter. Right now we're at 100 votes and we're trying to be number one. And right now they're at 230. I'd really like to see if the thread converter can get a little bit more recognition. We've had a lot. I know there's a lot of people every month looking at it. I have analytics on it. So it'd be really cool to see it get a little bit more traction and we can get kind of more ideas of what to do with it. It's a free app, whatever you want. Different threads are missing, let me know. We'll do our best to get it uploaded. But there's like 13, almost 14,000 threads that we have entered in manually.
As my day job in production, I'm using it all the time as an embroiderer. So it's definitely a must tool, and the fact that it's free, it's definitely a work of art as far as I'm concerned, and it does it's worth the vote. Just take a moment, vote for the thread converter. There's a couple other people representing the nerd family on that list as well. Go vote for Adam Fuller for most influential person in under 40 in the industry. So he's, if anybody that doesn't know, which everybody here I'm sure knows who Adam is, but he's 11-year-old son of Jeff Fuller, has his own hat company, builds hats from scratch. He's an awesome kid, so go vote for him too.
Definitely. And Matt, you did a great job on that thread converter app. It's pretty amazing.
I appreciate it.
You were kind of showing it in the background, but I love that you get those swatches with the background of the original color and how you can kind of pick which one you want to use that you think is closest. And then it gives you a little bit of like a reference as well of like how close or accurate it is to the original.
Yeah, so this was actually one of the projects that I was working on, was how to show you your color a little bit more effectively. So this entire background is the color that you selected that you need to match to. Then it shows you the actual thread colors. And like if you're not hovered over it, it puts that border around it so that you can see it, that it gives you a little bit more visual separation from it, so you can see how different it is. But then if you want to, set that card on top of it, match the lighting, and then you can see just a little bit. It just gives you kind of two different peripheral views of it, or whatever. I don't know, big words. I don't have a PhD or anything. And then you can upload text. I think I have CMYK, but. You just upload a list and pick which ones you want. Coming soonish, hopefully, maybe, if it starts working, you can pick your colors here and then export it, and then you'll get a link that you can send to someone, and then they'll come and they'll see the exact colors that you had, because a lot of people are like, oh, what colors should I match? And then you can do it and give it to them, and there you go.
Cool.
But basically, please vote. That'd be really cool. But yeah, and then vote for everyone else that Justin mentioned. There's links in our Facebook, our YouTube on how to do all that.
And I believe there's only a couple days left in the voting, so definitely go out there and vote.
Yeah, I think it closes on the 9th, which is like 3 days from now. So
yeah, so go out and vote.
But yeah, I think that's all we got. I don't know unless you got anything, DJ.
I threw a couple of links again in the bottom here. Please check me out on social media, my new accounts, since I was canceled. I'd like to build up my audience again and be friends and share and all that good stuff. So my Facebook and my Instagram accounts there. So hit me up, follow, give me a look. I'd appreciate it.
Okay, well, I think that's it. We're almost an hour, 10 minutes. So I think that's pretty good. We got to look at Pulse, see it in action, chat with DJ a little bit, and look at the thread converter. So what more excitement could we want? I think we'll close it here. So I don't know. Do we have a topic to spoil for next week? I don't think so yet.
I don't think we do yet.
So I guess
it'll be a surprise.
Subscribe.
There you go.
Subscribe, watch on YouTube. There you go. And then you'll get, actually, if you do subscribe, you'll see immediately when we pick a topic, because it'll ping you and be like, topic of the day, first person to watch gets $1,000. Brought to you by embroideryworks.com.
Oh.
He's not here, so he can't defend himself. But
there you go.
Well, I guess that's it. So thanks for tuning in with us, and we'll go ahead and end the live. Have a great night, everyone.